Hello viewers! Today's video will be a presentation discussing the final performance task in statistics and probability output of the following students from grade 11 St. Pedro Calungsod: Aguirre Jessica Marie, Cantor Diomar, Estacio Xyrille, Lontabo Boris Sebastian, and Lulu Randall.
Our group was tasked to do a 2020 presidential and vice presidential survey, and here is our introduction. We, the researchers or surveyors of the study, surveyed 10 samples of the following classes or categories: working or employed, unemployed, small-scale business owners, senior citizens, and college students with regards to their presidential and vice presidential preferences. Also, we will compute the sample mean and the percentage of every class or category and interpret the results using 95% confidence level. With regards to this, the first thing we did was to look for respondents who could help us with our survey. We started to distribute our survey forms and somehow managed to collect a total of 50 responses. After gathering the data, we arranged them on a table. This is the first table and it is for the presidential preferences. As shown on the screen, there are only 3 presidential candidates that had votes. Presidential candidate Isko Dumagoso had 1 vote from Class 1, 1 from Class 3, and 2 from Class 4. Presidential candidate Ferdinand Marcos Jr. had 7 votes from Class 1, 7 from Class 2, 8 from Class 3, 6 from Class 4, and 7 from Class 5. And lastly, presidential candidate Leni Robredo had 2 votes from Class 1, 3 from Class 2, 1 from Class 3, 2 from Class 4, and 3 from Class 5. Once done with that, proceed with getting the sample mean, wherein we simply add all the values on a single column and then divide it by 50, which is the total number of respondents. Therefore, for Isko Dumagoso, 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0 is equal to 4. Divided by 50, we would have 0.08. Convert it to percentage by multiplying it by 100, 8%. For Ferdinand Marcos Jr., 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 6 plus 7 is 35 divided by 50, so we will get 0.7 or 70%. And for Vice President Leni Robredo, 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 is equal to 11 divided by 50. That would give us 0.22 or 22%. Now for the vice presidential preferences, we would also do the same thing. As shown, 4 vice presidential candidates had votes. The first one is Sara Duterte, who had 5, 3, 8, 7, and 7 from each class respectively. Sum it up, 30 divided by 50 is 0.6 or 60%. Next, Willie Ong, he had 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0, so total of 5 votes, divided by 50, so 0.10 or 10%. For Francis Pangilinan, 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2, total of 7 votes divided by 50 is 0.14 or 14%. And for the last one is Vicente Sotto III, who had 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, so 8 votes in total divided by 50 is 0.16 or 16%.
The next discussion will be all about solving for interval estimates, the maximum error, and coming up with a final statement. So, for the first column, which is the X for Ferdinand Marcos Jr., since each class has 10 respondents, each vote will be equivalent to 10%. So, if it is 1, then 10%, 2 is 20%, etc. Going back, on the screen, Class 1 there are 7 votes, so 70%. Class 2, 7 votes, so 70%. Class 3, 8 votes, so 80%. Class 4, 6 votes, so 60%, and Class 5, 7 votes, so 70%. The calculated sample mean then is 70%. Proceed to the next column. It is X minus sample mean. So, subtract the values on the previous column from the sample mean. Therefore, 70 minus 70% is 0, 80 minus 70% is 10%, 60 minus 70% is negative 10%, and 70 minus 70% is 0 as well. For the last column, we just need to square the values on the second column, and that will give us 1% for the third and fourth classes, while 0% for classes 1, 2, and 5. Don't forget to add all the values on the third column because we will be needing it later on. Now, let us enumerate the given. We have 70% for the sample mean, a sample size of 5, a confidence level of 95%, an alpha level of 5%, degrees of freedom, df, of 4 because formula for that is n-1, so 5 minus 1 is 4. T-value of 2.776 for on the t-table. The intersection of sample size 5 and confidence level 95% is 2.776. We can then solve for the sample standard deviation or the S, which is needed for the next computation. To do so, we need to square the summation of the last column in decimal form and divide it by df, which is 4, which would give us 0.005. Now, 0.005 is only the variance. Proceed, get the square root of the variance. Square of 0.005 is equals to a sample standard deviation of 0.0707. Here is the solution for 95% confidence level. To solve for the maximum error, we can use the formula TA over 2 quantity S over the square root of n. Substitute, so 2.776 quantity 0.0707 over the square root of 5. 2.776 quantity 0.0707 over 2.23606797774. 2.776 quantity 0.03161800012. Last step, 2.776 multiplied to 0.03161800012. The answer is 0.878 or 8.78%. To get the lower limit, we need to subtract the sample mean to the computed maximum error. Therefore, 70% minus 8.78% is equals to 61.22%. And reversely, for the upper limit, we need to add the sample mean to maximum error. So, 70% plus 8.78% is equals to 78.78%. Our interval estimate now is 61.22% to 78.78%. And the final statement is, we can say with 95% confidence level and an alpha level of 5% that the interval between 61.22% to 78.78% contains the true population mean based on the results of the survey was conducted on 50 persons in 5 different classes or categories with a maximum error of 0.878 or 8.78%.
The next presidential candidate is Vice President Leni Robredo. Just like in the first one, we will also compute for the 3 columns and follow the step we just did for the first presidential candidates. For the X column is 20%, 30%, 10%, 20%, and 30%. For the second column, we will subtract the first column and the sample mean. So 20 minus 22 is negative 2%, 30 minus 22 is 8%, 10 minus 22 is negative 12%, 20 minus 22 is negative 2%, and 30 minus 22 is 8%. For the third column, we need to square the previous column. So the values are 0.04%, 0.64%, 1.44%, 0.04%, and 0.64%. The summation is 2.8%. For the given, we have 22% for the sample mean, a sample size of 5, a confidence level of 95%, an alpha level of 5%, degree of freedom of 4, and t-value of 2.776. To solve for the sample standard deviation, we need to square the summation of the last column and divide it by df4. So we will then get 0.028 over 4 is variance 0.007 and get the square root. So the sample standard deviation then is 0.0837 or 8.37%. To solve for the maximum error, use the formula TA over 2 quantity S over the square root of n. Substitute 2.776 quantity 0.0837 over the square root of 5.
2.776 quantity 0.0837 over 2.23606797774. 2.776 quantity 0.0374317779. Then 2.776 times 0.0374317779. The answer is 0.104 or 10.4%. To get the lower limit, sample mean minus maximum error. Therefore, 22% minus 10.4% is equal to 11.60%. For the upper limit, do the opposite. Sample mean plus maximum error. So, 22% plus 10.4% is equal to 32.40%. Our interval estimate now is 11.60% to 32.40%. And the final estimate is we can say with 95% confidence level and an alpha level of 0.05 or 5%, that the interval between 11.60% to 32.40% contains the true population mean based on the result of the survey conducted on the 50 persons in 5 different classes categories with a maximum error of 0.104 or 10.4%.
The last presidential candidate is Isko Domagoso. Again, same steps. The X column here is 10%, 0%, 10%, 20%, and 0%. For the second column, we will subtract the first column to the sample mean. So 10 minus 8 is 2%, 0 minus 8 is negative 8%, 10 minus 8 is 2%, and 20 minus 8 is 12%, and lastly 0 minus 8 is negative 8%. For the third column, we will need to square the values on the previous column, giving us 0.04%, 0.64%, 0.04%, 1.44%, and 0.64%. The summation is 2.8, and if you notice, the summation is the same as the second presidential candidate's summation. Therefore, the sample standard deviation is 0.0837 as well. To solve for the maximum error, we use the same formula, t over 2 quantity s over square root of n, then substitute. So, 2.776 quantity 0.0837 over the square root of 5. 2.776 quantity 0.0837 over 2.23606797774. 2.776 quantity 0.03743177779, then 2.776 multiplied by 0.03743177779. The answer is 0.104 or 10.4%. Lower limit is the sample mean minus the computed sample error. So 8% minus 10.4% is equals to negative 2.4%. The upper limit is the sample mean plus the computed sample error. So 8% plus 10.4% is equals to 18.4%. Our interval estimate now is negative 2.4% to 18.4%. And the final statement that we can give is, with 95% confidence level and with an alpha level of 5%, the interval between negative 2.4 and 18.4 contains the true population mean based on the results of the survey conducted with 50 persons in 5 different classes with a maximum error of 0.104 or 10.4%.
Since the steps are the same and we already had 3 sample computation, the next computation will be presented much quicker. The X column for Sara Duterte is 50%, 30%, 80%, 70%, and 70%. For the second column, we will subtract X and sample mean. So 50 minus 60 is negative 10%, 30 minus 60 is negative 30%, 80 minus 60 is 20%, 70 minus 60 is 10%, and 70 minus 60 is also 10%. For the third column, we need to square the values on the previous column. Class 1 is 1%, class 2 is 9%, class 3, 4%, class 4, 1%, and class 5, 1%. The summation is 16%. For the given, we have 60% for the sample mean, a sample size of 5, a confidence level of 95%, an alpha level of 5%, DF of 4, t-value of 2.776. Solve the sample standard deviation. We need to divide 0.16 by DF, which is 4. Compute, and you will get 0.04. Square 0.04 and you will get the sample standard deviation is 0.2 or 20%. Solve for maximum error. So 2.776 quantity 0.02 over the square root of 5. 2.776 quantity 0.02 over 2.23606797774. 2.776 quantity 0.00894427919. Then 2.776 times 0.00894427919. The answer is 0.248 or 24.8%. Get the lower limit. 60% minus 24.8% equals 35.2%. Proceed with the upper limit. 60% plus 24.8% equals 84.8%. Our interval estimate now is 35.2% to 84.8%. And the final statement is, we can say with 95% confidence level and an alpha level of 0.05 or 5%, that the interval between 35.2% to 84.8% contains the true population mean is based on the result of the survey conducted to 50 persons in different classes or categories, with a maximum error of 0.248 or 24.8%.
The next vice presidential candidate is Mr. Vicente Sotto III. The first column contains his votes 30%, 20%, 10%, 10%, and another 10%. The sample mean for that is 16%. For the second column, x minus sample mean, so 30% minus 16% is 14%, 20% minus 16% is 4%, and for the following rows, 10% minus 16% is negative 6%. For the third column, square the values on the previous column. After doing so, you will get 1.96%, 0.16%, and 3 consecutive 0.36% values. The summation of that column then, for the given, we have 16% for the sample, a sample size of 5, a confidence level of 95%, an alpha level of 5%, degree of freedom of 4, and t-value of 2.776. And to solve for the sample standard deviation, 3.2 in decimal form is 0.032, divided by 4 is variance 0.08, get its square root, so the sample standard deviation then is 0.089. Next, solve for the maximum error, substitute its formula, 2.776 quantity 0.0894 over the square root of 5. Simplify, then the answer is 0.111 or 11.1%. Now let's get the lower limit. 16% minus 11.1% is 4.9. Then proceed with the upper limit. 16% plus 11.1% is 27.1%. Our interval estimate now is 4.9% to 27.1%. And the final statement is, we can say with 95% confidence level and an alpha level of 0.05 or 5% that the interval between 4.9% to 27.1% contains the true population mean based on the results of the survey conducted to 50 persons in 5 different classes or categories with a maximum error of 0.111 or 11.1%.
The third vice presidential candidate is Mr. Francis Pangilinan. Here, the first column will have 10%, 30%, 10%, 0%, and 20%. For the second column, subtract x to the sample mean. So 10 minus 14 is negative 4%, 30 minus 14 is 16%, 10 minus 14 is negative 4%, 0 minus 14 is negative 14%, and 20 minus 14 is 6%. For the third column, we need to square the previous column, so the values are 0.16%, 2.56%, 0.16%, 1.96%, and 0.36%. The summation is 5.2%. For the given, we have 14% for the sample mean, a sample size of 5, a confidence level of 95%, an alpha level of 5%, DF of 4, and t-value of 2.776. To solve for the sample standard deviation, summation of the last column divided by the DF4, it will result to variance 0.013. Get the square root. Therefore, the sample standard deviation is 0.1140 or 11.4%. Solve for the maximum error by substituting its formula. 2.776 quantity 0.114 over the square root of 5. 2.776 quantity 0.114, 0 over 2.23, 60679774. 2.776 quantity 0.0509823498. Then, 2.776 times 0.0509823498, the answer is 0.142 or 14.2%. Get the lower limit. 14% minus 14.2% is equals to negative 0.2%. Proceed with the upper limit. 14% plus 14.2% is equals to 28.2%. Our interval estimate now is negative 0.2% to 28.2%. And the final statement is, we can say with 95% confidence level and an alpha level of 0.05 or 5%, that the interval between negative 0.2% to 28.2% contains the true population mean, is based on the results of the survey conducted to 50 persons in 5 different classes or categories with a maximum error of 0.142 or 14.2%.
The last vice presidential candidate is none other than Mr. Willie Ong. For the X column, we have 10%, 20%, 0%, 20%, and 0%. For the second column, we will subtract X from the sample mean. So 10 minus 10 is 0%, 20 minus 10 is 10%, 0 minus 10 is negative 10%, 20 minus 10 is 10%, and 0 minus 10 is negative 10%. For the third column, square values on the previous column. So the values are 0%, 1%, 1%, 1%, and 1%. The summation is 4%. For the given, we have 10% for the sample mean, a sample size of 5, a confidence level of 95%, an alpha level of 5%, degree of freedom of 4, and t-value of 2.776. Solve for the sample standard deviation. 0.04 divided by df4 is 0.01. Get the square root, so the sample standard deviation is 0.1 or 10%. Solve for the E by substituting its formula. 2.776 quantity 0.1 over the square root of 5. 2.776 quantity 0.1 over 2.23606797774. 2.776 quantity 0.0447213595599. Then 2.776 times 0.0447213595599. The answer is 0.124 or 12.4%. Get the lower limit. 10% minus 12.4% is equal to negative 2.4%. Proceed. Get the upper limit. 10% plus 12.4% is equal to 22.4%. Our interval estimate now is negative 2.4% to 22.4%. And the final statement is, we can say with 95% confidence level and an alpha levels of 0.05 or 5% that the interval between negative 2.4% to 22.4% contains. The true population mean is based on the result of the survey conducted to 50 persons in 5 different classes categories with a maximum error of 0.124 or 12.4%.
Here are the conclusions made after conducting the survey. To conclude, based on all the data that the researchers have gathered, we can say that Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is the leading presidential candidate. Meanwhile, Vice President Leni Robredo is the second leading presidential candidate, and Isko Dumagoso is the third leading presidential candidate. Aside from that, we can also say that Sara Duterte is the leading vice presidential candidate, followed by Vicente Sotto III, the second leading vice presidential candidate, and Francis Pangilinan is the third leading vice presidential candidate. For the presidential candidates, the researchers surveyed 50 respondents in 5 different classes. 70% of the said population prefer Ferdinand Marcos Jr., 22% is on Vice President Leni Robredo, and the remaining 8% prefer Isko Dumagoso. The other presidential candidates that didn't have any vote on this survey are as follows: Ernesto Abela, Leo D. de Guzman, Roberto Gonzales, Ting Lacson, Faisal Mangondato, Jose Montemayor Jr., and Manny Pacquiao. For the vice presidential candidates, the researchers surveyed 50 respondents in 5 different classes. 60% of the said population prefers Sara Duterte with a maximum error of 24.8%. 16% of the population is for Vicente Sotto III with a maximum error of 11.1%. 14% in the population prefer Francis Pangilinan with a maximum error of 14.2%, and the remaining 10% prefer Willie Ong with a maximum error of 10.8%. The other vice presidential candidates that didn't have any vote on this survey are as follows: Lito Atienza, Walden Bello, Rizalito David, Manny Lopez, and Carlos Serapio.
So that will be all for our presentation. We hope it helps. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Have a great day.